Are Apple's chip comparisons cheating?
Up to 1.7 times faster than iMac with M1.
The world's fastest CPU core.
Up to 2 times faster than iMac with M1.
Which on their own deliver similar performance as the current generation dual-core MacBook Air at much lower power.
For 3 times faster than on M1.
If there's one thing that riles up the tech community, it's a slightly vague graph, or comparing the performance in a way that they just don't think is right. Just ask Linus.
Because it tends to put me in a bad mood when brands get out on stage and make vague and unsubstantiated claims. And that really is what Apple did. Apple went and launched a product with a lot of unlabeled graphs and a lot of very, very, well, how do I put this? A lot of very optimistic claims about this product.
But is Apple being deceitful, or is there something bigger at play here? Let's find out. It's the second one. Spoilers. Want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours? Subscribe and ring the bell. I'm iCaveDave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and it is day 2 of my Movember challenge, November the 1st, so that means the beard has to go. So wait till the end of the video to see me beard-free for the first time in about 6 years. Apple has famously shown some, let's say, interestingly labelled graphs without a great deal of numbers, and yes, they can be frustrating for tech reviewers. Tech reviewers do need to compare products to say what is the better value, what will give better performance per dollar, better battery life per charge. Probably everyone watching this video wants to know how good something is compared to the last model. It's completely valid. But here's the thing, Apple isn't creating its videos to announce products to reviewers. And I'll be honest, I don't even consider myself a reviewer. More of a commentator, an analyst of Apple rumours, leaks, and what things could mean for the future. And I try and give an honest commentary on what information comes out, whether it's from Apple or other sources. The videos that Apple makes for these announcements are for the public. Yes, the press will of course take the information in them as guidance, but Apple is talking to normal people who buy their products. This is why they're not telling you about benchmarks and amounts of throughput of memory. And normal people very rarely upgrade any piece of technology every year. Phones maybe every 2 to 4 years is typical, and computers 5 or more years. So given that, why on earth would Apple compare the performance to last year, as opposed to something that realistically a consumer might be looking to upgrade from? Look back through all of my videos, and at no time will I recommend upgrading from one generation to the next, not even for an iPhone, an Apple Watch, a Mac, even AirPods, and those upgrades only come sort of once every 3 years. Now, there is a slight caveat to all of this, which is Apple's M5. For some reason, Apple thought this was a massive leap and also a tiny one at the same time. It arrived with almost no fanfare. It was 4 press releases to cover the M5 and the 3 products that you can get it in, the new MacBook Pro, the iPad Pro and the Vision Pro, all dropped simultaneously on a Wednesday morning at 9 AM on Apple's news site. No videos, no hype. Obviously, M5 must be a really small update. Nope. For the first time in forever.
For the first time in forever.
Here's the first paragraph of the press release. M5 delivers over 4 times the peak GPU compute performance for AI compared to the M4, featuring a next-generation GPU with neural accelerator in each core, a more powerful CPU, and higher unified memory bandwidth. Now, directly referencing the last generation because the leap in AI performance is so massive. Dig into the text, it's also 45% faster on graphics than the last generation and 2.5 times or 150% faster than M1. So why did they hide all of this in a press release instead of a shiny video? Because in this case, the changes are way more relevant to developers and professionals running their own AI models than normal consumers who buy a Mac. And also, by not having a big marketing video, they know that Apple reviewers will absolutely rave about the real-world performance of this, with the M5 also featuring the fastest performance cores on the planet. There is no chip you can buy with a faster single-core performance than this. Apple is comfortably leaving the PC market in the dust, not only in performance, but now also efficiency. And now Apple Silicon is pretty much the only platform for working on AI, because the unified memory in the chip architecture means it's also the cheapest way to throw a huge amount of memory at your GPU. If you want a little more of my thoughts on Apple's leapfrog in the market in AI, check out this video up here. Not because their AI features are the best in Apple Intelligence, but because they're giving you the hardware instead of renting server time. So is Apple misleading their consumers by comparing their chips to a 4 or 5 year old model? Absolutely not. They're just not making life super easy for reviewers. But I guess reviewers will just have to run their own tests, doing the work. Right, let's lose this beard then, and we'll answer some of your iCave answers. So I'm doing this for Movember, Men's Mental Health, and making a video every single day. Scan the QR code to donate. Oh, and here's my Beetlejuice look from yesterday on Halloween for the final outing of this beard. Cheers. So with that out of the way, on to your iCave Answers questions. Thoughts on the entry-level MacBook Pro not coming with a charging brick in the EU and UK? So on this one, I think the whole point of the EU's thing of everyone moving over to USB charging, or at least USB option for charging, is that this is what could happen. I do think with the MacBooks, it's a little bit of a different one because they do need a bit more oomph than your typical Amazon iPhone charger. I don't think it would be unreasonable to include them. I think really Apple should probably give you an option at checkout whether you want to get one for like $19 or something like that, instead of if you want one you've got to buy it separately and it's like 70, something like that. But I do think the difference that this is going to make in terms of packaging, the amount of stuff that can be shipped in one go, is all great. But I would have loved to see that discount be passed on to the customers as well, of not including it in the box. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. I don't think it's a massive deal, and I think a lot of people with a Mac will have had a previous Mac with a decent, powerful charging brick. And also, there's plenty of third-party ones out there. We've had them from Anker and Ugreen and some of those other companies that do really good stuff at really good prices. So, yeah, it would be great, but at least you still get your MagSafe cable. Rumours are suggesting that a touchscreen MacBook as early as 2026. Do you think we will get a touchscreen MacBook? And also, Team Kinetics has added a bit of context here. I know a lot of working professionals in photography, videography, and design who would be furious at anyone touching their screen, even if macOS was more touch-friendly. I can't see a MacBook Pro needing a touchscreen, but could the entry-level MacBook eventually get a touchscreen for the general public and casual users? Now, I think this really comes down to what is Apple going to do in terms of the way the displays are built, as much as anything else. If you think about an iPad, a lot of photographers and videographers will use iPads as well, and they will use them as a touchscreen because we know that these displays are durable and you are able to clean them easily and get them back to a good usable state. My concern is more along the lines of having used iPadOS 26. The changes they've made are fantastic. They have added so many more options in terms of multi-window, all those kind of things. However, you still do need a lot of stuff to be much bigger on the display than you do with a Mac, because the precision that you get from using a pointer and keyboard, mouse is different. And I think it's more awkward to use the windowing on an iPad, even with a touchscreen and the option of a keyboard and trackpad, than it is to use with just your fingers, and certainly more difficult than it is to do on a Mac. My worry is more that there will be a compromise in the interface for people that don't have any interest in using the touchscreen. And I know a lot of people that buy a touchscreen capable PC laptop and never touch the screen anyway, because it's much more intuitive to just use the keyboard and trackpad that we're used to. That being said, I think the lack of any options of a touchscreen on the macOS has also held some people back from adopting it, because I think younger people are just used to leaning in and touching it because they haven't grown up with the paradigm that we have of using the keyboard and trackpad. So in terms of the usability and the getting smears on your screen, I don't think that's a massive issue as long as it's got the thick enough display glass and, the touch surfaces are designed for it. That should be fine as long as you've got a reasonable cloth with you. I don't see that as being as big of an issue. What I do see is an issue in terms of that crossover, because I use everything really tiny on my MacBook Air display. Like, people always comment, how can you see this stuff? And I just prefer to have more screen real estate to use than have big, bold things that look nice and rounded. Yeah, I mean, I do think it is coming. I do think the rumours have been that it will be with, possibly in the next year, the OLED refresh for the MacBook Pros. Is it going to happen? I don't know. If it does, and they're adopting a lot of the technology from the iPad, maybe we'll also see Face ID for the first time, which would be fantastic. But I'm not entirely convinced that it will be this soon. But I'd love to be proven wrong, and I am intrigued to see how it will work. Okay, so thank you to everyone who's donated to the Movember cause, and thank you so much to my Patreons for their support over at patreon.com/c/iCaveDave. Leave your questions below in the comment section with hashtag iCaveAnswers, and tomorrow I will share my everyday carry when I'm out and about. See you then.
The world's fastest CPU core.